Unbelievable. Congratulations. Final lesson. Pre-lesson. You still have to watch the packet lesson. Sorry about that, but congratulations. Did you notice I've been wearing the App State football? I thought I'd get a couple digs in before summer hits for the fall. So I got to get those mighty Spartans to beat Michigan again. That's the only game that matters for the Sparties, I guess. But this is definitely a dig on you true blue U of M fans. I'm sorry that I had to bust this out. Many years ago when App State pulled off the greatest upset of any sport event in history, I know you Michigan guys, you want to bring up basketball when the Sparties lost in the first round. Problem is, they lost to a Division I team. Wink, wink. All right, sorry, enough of that. Let's get on to the last lesson. As you can tell, I'm kind of fired up for you guys. All right, but I don't mind summer either. Anyways, here we go. Quick review of a 30, 60, 90. Again, you're not supposed to forget stuff, but we know you do. So short side is x. You always double that to get the hypotenuse. And then you multiply that by the square root of 3 to get here. So here's a sample problem, just so you can kind of sink your teeth into it. 30, 90, 60. If this is 4, this would be 8. If you double it, this would be 4 square root of 3. Now, let me show you something that is significant, because if I don't cover this, it's going to confuse you a little bit. What if I said, hey guys, find sine of 30 degrees in this situation? Well, you'd go, okay, find the 30 degrees, sine, you've done a million of these by now, opposite over hypotenuse. So you'd go, aha, opposite is 4, hypotenuse is 8, and you get 1/2. So let me ask you a question. What if I said this was 40? Then this would be 80, and this would be 40 square root of 3. And if I said, hey, find sine of 30, it's still opposite over hypotenuse, but now it would be 40 over 80. What's 40 over 80? It's still 1/2. So it doesn't matter what the dimensions of the triangles are as long as you follow the rules of 30, 60, 90s. Your trig functions will be the same regardless of the dimensions, okay? These are proportionate relationships. Fancy talk, I know. It's going to be very significant for this problem coming up. Now, having said that, let me throw one more thing at you just so you guys can really do these 30, 60, 90s well. So, for example, you know the rules. You can rewind it if you forgot. But the problem is, what if they gave you something weird like this, 10? See, a lot of you would go, oh, I don't know what to do with that. Yes, you do. See, if you have to go from here and multiply by the square root of 3, what do you have to do to get back? Well, you have to divide by the square root of 3. I know the numbers don't work out, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means it's a weird problem. And then if this is my shorty, I got to double this to get my hypotenuse. That'd be 20 square root of 3 over 3. Don't panic if you get some really strange numbers. Just follow your 30, 60, 90 rules. Now, let me show you a sample problem. We're almost done. Hang tough. So it says, find all 6 trig functions of the spin 210. So I take my spinner. There it is. Spin it up 180 plus 30. Now I'm going to show you the number one mistake students do. They get lazy because we are creatures of habit. We do go by what things look like. And if we're not careful, we'll just get into the habit of stopping somewhere in here. And then if we remember our rules, we need a right triangle. So we're going to go right back to the X. And this is starting to look a lot like a 45, 45, 90. And for those of you who you believe what you see, it's hard to make adjustments, you might be making a mistake because you might have a hard time. See this triangle, this is clearly the shortest side. This is second place, this is third. 30, 60, 90s need to look like 30, 60, 90s. That's my point. So rather than being lazy right there, get perfectionistic. 210 is 30 degrees past 180, so that means not very far. So I would stop right here. What's my golden rule? Never go back to the y, always back to the x. And I know this is a 30, I know this is a 60, and I know this is a 90. Well, how am I supposed to find the trig functions if I don't have any sides? See, this goes back to what I erased. It's all proportionate. It doesn't matter what the sides are as long as you follow the the 30, 60, 90 rules. So I'm going to make this as easy as possible. I'm going to make the side opposite my 30 a 1. That means my hypotenuse is a 2. I got to multiply that by the square root of 3 to get this, so it's the square root of 3. But here's the twist. To get to this point, it would have to be a negative square root of 3 and a negative 1. You have to keep track of what quadrant you're in to determine whether or not those directions are negative or positive. That's the twist for this section. So if I defined all 6 trig functions, of sine of 210, cosine of 210, tangent of 210, now I've got all 3 sides. And we'll do a whole bunch of these examples in the sample packet problem, so I'm not going to waste your time with this. Okay, I got one more thing to show you, and then I'm done. All right, so you're not just smacked in the face with these really strange section of problems. I'm going to do a couple just to try to explain it. I think I do a pretty good job in the packet lesson. I just want to make sure you guys get it because it's a little bit weird. But what the instructions are going to say is take this sine function and write it as an acute function. Well, that tells us to concentrate on that. Remember, acute means less than 90. So they're saying, make that less than 90. So here's your job. You're going to spin your spinner 160 degrees. So there's 90. You got to go 70 more, which is right about there. So this is 70. Watch this, okay? Remember the whole last couple units or sections or lessons I've been saying the reference angle sandwiched between the spinner and the x, the spinner and the x, the spinner and the x, which means this is 20. This is my reference angle. So I'm going to take that 160 out and I'm going to make it 20. Now I have another job to do. I have to determine. So number 1, we got to change the angle. Number 2, we got to determine is that going to be positive or negative in that quadrant. Well, sine, remember, is opposite over hypotenuse. And if I finish my triangle the way I've been taught, this is my opposite side. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. This is my adjacent side. By the way, this would have to be negative because this would be left. The opposite side would be positive because it's up. My hypotenuse is always positive, so I have a positive over a positive, so I could leave my answer just like this, sine of 20 degrees. I did it. In other words, well, let's just move on to this one. Last one, you guys. Spin your spinner 220. Okay, there's 180. I threw a little zinger in here, a little different. And then this is going to go 40, which is almost halfway. So this is 40. Yes, this is my reference angle because it's sandwiched between the x-axis and the spinner. So I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to put 40. But if I complete my triangle, I have to notice something. Isn't this my opposite side? And isn't it going to be a negative? And my hypotenuse is positive. So what is sine? It's opposite over hypotenuse, which would give me a negative number, because that's just what this has to be, over a positive number, which is going to be negative. So I would have to throw a negative out in the front. Sometimes you got to understand there'll be negative. Sometimes you got to understand they'll be positive. Depends on what quadrant it's in and what trig function they're asking you to figure out. There's a little nudge so that when I hit these problems in the packet lesson, I won't be so like, whoa, what is he talking about? Congratulations. I know you're going to have a good summer. All right, so well done.